This was the 10th anniversary of the Electronic Entertainment Expo, and it was certainly an exciting year for the show.
I thought it was pretty exciting because we had the release of 2 new handheld platforms.
They kind of had it covered. You had a lot of good games, plus you had the new hardware in there saying, hey, I'm over here, we're coming soon.
And all the regular consoles are mature now, so we're seeing games at pretty much the highest potential of all those platforms.
So you had the stuff for this Christmas, you had the stuff for the years in the future. It really kind of tied it all together in a really nice way to kind of make what would normally be a transition year as the platforms get older and older into a much more exciting show.
I think it really showed that the game industry is maturing and just getting a lot more serious about just delivering high-quality games that can really grab you right from the get-go.
It's like just a tidal wave, and it's like trying to pick out the ones that are really good is almost impossible. There were a few though that definitely stood out to me.
Our Best Technology Award goes to the Sony PSP, which is Sony's upcoming handheld.
It's all bananas.
It just has all this cool stuff. It's got MP3 playbacks, it does movies. The games, I don't believe that the games will look as good as they look in the the video that they show, but the games look really good. It's got the Wi-Fi stuff, so it's going to have this internet connectivity. It's got USB 2.0 memory stick. They just jam it with all this technology. And it's just impressive. Just for someone who loves gadgets, you look at that and that is the ultimate gadget.
Whatever, that's great. That's all I want out of a portable gaming system really is more bad boys too.
The PSP just seems really impressive. There's just a lot of really cool features and a lot of cool games for it.
Sony's already announced a ton of great sounding games for the system, so we just absolutely can't wait to get our hands on them.
When the Legend of Zelda trailer came on at the end of the Nintendo press conference, we were all really taken by surprise because a lot of people expected Wind Waker 2, we were going to get the cell shading again.
Horsies. That's what the kids are all up in a tizzy over with that Zelda trailer.
People at the Nintendo press conference were crying when the trailer came on, I'll just put it that way.
I think what was really surprising about the Zelda trailer was just that we weren't really expecting to see a mature Zelda.
Zelda. I'm just going to say what probably other people have said in that I liked Wind Waker. I thought that was a great visual style.
I felt like Nintendo kind of backpedaled with the new Legend of Zelda game by going back to the old look of the main character Link, as opposed to sticking with the really inspired art style of last year's The Wind Waker. I sort of miss the Wind Waker's look already.
That trailer was presented so well and just cut together so nicely, and the use of music was great. Was that I have to admit, when you see him coming up over the horizon, and then the camera pans along the side and you just see dude on a horse and the music starts swelling and it spins around and you see it's him, and that's kind of cool. But then actually the trailer actually kicks in and he's whipping dudes' asses and he's knocking guys off of horses. I got chills, I have to admit it, I got chills.
Did anyone really think that San Andreas was going to be at E3? I mean, did anyone dilute themselves that much to where they thought that Rockstar would actually show that on the show floor?
Obviously, any Grand Theft Auto game is going to get a lot of attention, and a lot of people are going to be really eager to see it.
Yet, deep down, I really wanted it to be, because that game looks awesome.
Being able to basically play Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society, I think that's a really cool premise.
I don't think any of us went in there going, can't wait to play San Andreas, but it still hurts a little bit in here when it's not there, especially seeing the screenshots of that game. I'm a big fan of Menace to Society. I'm a big fan of Boys in the Hood, and I'm gonna make the call right now. The theme song for that game, Ice Cube, How to Survive in South Central. You heard it here first. They're gonna do it. I can feel it in here that's gonna be the theme song. You'll hear it in the commercial, you hear it everywhere. That's gonna be the song. The people at Midway working on Mortal Kombat are out of their damn minds. No fighting game should be as big as Mortal Kombat Deception's looking like right now.
You know what? Deception isn't so much a fighting game. It's like some kind of crazy, violent variety show. I mean, you've got your chess, you've got your puzzle game, you've got your adventuring. Where's the fighting game buried in all that?
But no, they're gonna add this puzzle fighter-like game. They're gonna add this Archon-like game, all with Mortal Kombat characters, all fighting, all of it's online.
We've got a bunch of old school Mortal Kombat fans here, so we are just absolutely overjoyed that this sequel is coming out and it's going to have online play, because arcades are totally dead, but we still want to play and beat up other people, especially really late at night.
Those guys must be like mainlining caffeine or something to get that game out by October. It's huge.
All right, so yeah, here's my interpretation of Jungle Beat. It's a platformer with drums. What?
It's not a controller. You're not like analog control. You're sitting there smacking this one to run to the right.
So weird.
You're smacking this one, run to the left.
It's the kind of weird that Nintendo really needs to get back into in a serious way.
And you're just going, ah! That game's gonna be awesome.
Dang kids. Watch it. You'll scare my ducks.
So our choice for best massively multiplayer game of E3 2004 was EverQuest 2. I think what was really impressive about it was not just its great graphics and that full voiceover sound, but also a lot of little details that really help make the game seem not just like a game, but actually a living, breathing world.
I'm not jealous of the people working on EverQuest 2 because they have to make a sequel to one of the most successful online role-playing games of all time. They have a huge task ahead of them, but EverQuest 2 actually looks like it's shaping up really, really well. It's definitely a cut above pretty much all the other online RPGs that were on display at E3, and that's why it was the easy choice for our award for Best Online RPG of the show.
Silent Hunter 3 looks really cool because the graphics are really good, and also because they're really showing a lot of detail and modeling basically the interior of a real-life submarine.
It just simply looks beautiful. It's the best looking naval game I've ever seen.
Yeah, war simulations are a genre that's been kind of dying off in the last few years, so it was exciting to see Silent Hunter 3.
You can actually do things you could never really do in other submarine games, like walk around the bridge and climb up to the deck.
On the one hand, it's got enough depth to appeal to the old school war gamers who want a real hardcore submarine simulation, but it's got enough visual flair to really appeal to casual people who just want to shoot torpedoes and blow stuff up.
So the game that won our adventure game of E3 2004 was Dreamfall from Funcom. These are the creators of The Longest Journey, which was one of the best adventure games since Grim Fandango. The thing about Dreamfall is that it not only looks really beautiful, but it also looks really promising as far as gameplay goes. There are a lot of new features, like the focus field, which will attempt to kind of split the difference between a video game controller and a mouse and keyboard. The game looks really promising, and we hope to see more of it.
Yute Saito's Odama purports that samurai warfare can be seen as a metaphor for pinball, or the other way around. It's actually one of the most surprising games of E3, and it was actually a lot of fun. It's this pinball game, but you've got these samurai battles being fought right on the battlefield. It was really mind-boggling, but just really cool at the same time.
Because Lord knows I'm trying to shuffle through all these Odamas, like, there's this Odama, there's that, oh, Yute Saito's, that's the one I want.
It was a really tough category this year. There were a lot of really big games, but I'm pleased to announce that our best military pinball game for E3 2004 is Yute Saito's Odama.
There are plenty of games that are just crazy, but that game has the potential to also be really good. Like the gameplay mechanics, the concepts that are underneath it, the underlying ideas are good. They're potentially really impressive and really excellent. So no question that was the most impressive puzzle game at the show.
Mario is a paper airplane. How can you go wrong?
The first Paper Mario was just running on the N64 hardware, and even then, you know, they made good use of the hardware and they made it look good, and so I expect even better, more intricate stuff from Paper Mario 2.
Most role-playing games just look so cut and dried next to Paper Mario 2. It's this really kind of whimsical and clever and really fun game, and even though we liked seeing so many kind of violent and crazy games at E3 this year, it was really nice to see a kind of a family-friendly but a very kind of Pixar-esque, fun for all ages game like Paper Mario 2 at the show.
When I think of the pageantry and the tradition behind professional football, I think deep down we all think of Steve-O and David Arquette and Carmen Electra. These are the names we think of when we think of the Hall of Fame of football. There's a lot of tradition, and the fact that they were able to get these obviously highly touted players to be in their new football game is really an accomplishment. Okay, yeah, so that whole celebrity thing is just total junk, but whatever, that's not the point. The point is ESPN NFL Football is a totally dope game this year.
What was really impressive about The Sims 2 is that we've heard a lot of promises about how The Sims 2 is going to deliver all this cool stuff. When we saw it at E3 2004, it really started coming together, really started looking like a really promising game.
The game just looks phenomenal. The new 3D engine does a whole, I mean, it doesn't just look better, it allows a whole lot of other things that you could never do before in terms of just interaction and the immersiveness, the attachment you'll have with these characters. It's a whole new game, and it looks incredible.
The Sims 2 is going to be the sequel to the best-selling computer game of all time, so it's got some pretty big shoes to fill. The original game was really risky and really innovative, and it looks like the sequel is shaping up to be much the same way. It's definitely making a lot of interesting departures from the first one.
You know what, I don't even like racing games, and I love Burnout 3. You pick it up, you run into a bunch of other cars, it's awesome.
As it stands, Burnout 3 is a really amazing game with a lot of really amazing crash physics that moves at a really blinding speed, and it's hot.
There was probably no other game at E3 that was nearly as fast and as intense as Burnout 3 was.
It appeals to that whole subversive side that makes everyone love Grand Theft Auto so much. It's just wrecking stuff. It's just mayhem and chaos. It's going to have Xbox Live support, you know, one of the first EA games to do that, and it's a game that deserves it, because crashing into other cars by yourself is great, but doing it with your friends, that's really where you create the bonds that last.
Zelda the Minish Cap was our GBA game of the show, basically because it's the kind of Zelda game that you used to play like on the SNES and the NES way back in the day. It's 2D overhead, but it's original. They're using the same art style as the Wind Waker. So you've got like the cartoony looking Link, but everything's 2D. And the hat that he has actually lets him shrink down to be a little pint-sized Link. So you can actually go inside like logs and ride around on leaves, floating down the stream, stuff like that.
I'm really stoked that they're taking away the lame gameplay.
Resident Evil 4 has got a lot more shooting, a lot less driving your character around like a tank.
I'm glad that they're turning Resident Evil into a game that people will be able to play and not just nerds.
Aside from the fact that Resident Evil 4 just looks really good, the new gameplay elements look pretty promising too.
Killing zombies is so like 2 years ago, so why don't you kill crazy humans?
God of War is one of those games where you have to see it in action to truly appreciate it, and just to see the really visceral combat and see this incredible combat system right in your face.
You're this Spartan warrior guy, you gotta go kill the God of War Ares, and to do that, you gotta kill a whole lot of people and a whole lot of creatures. That's cool.
But I saw it in motion at the show, and it looks and moves really well.
God of War was a big surprise. That game has got some gnarly Greek violent action. Like you're pulling the wings off of harpies, you're stabbing minotaurs in the face. You know, it's good stuff.
So we picked MechAssault 2 as our best Xbox game and best shooter game, which came as a surprise to a lot of people who were expecting to see Halo 2.
Halo 2, of course, looked great at E3. They let us play one, kind of capture the flag map for a little while, and that was fun, as capture the flag shooters tend to be. But MechAssault 2 was the Xbox game that impressed us the most at the show. We got to fight against these huge towering mechs, which you can now get out of, and you can jack other players for their mechs, and
Mech Jack!
And the scale of the battle, the carnage that's happening on the battlefield, it really outclassed pretty much every other shooter at the show.
No! I hate stealth games. I hate them. And Splinter Cell 3 looks totally rad.
Splinter Cell 3 was, I think, one of the most surprising games of the show just because it looked so good.
Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell 3 was not only one of the biggest surprises at E3, it was also the single best PC game of the show, as well as the best game overall, according to us.
I was having a hard time trying to figure out a game of the show. And then I saw Splinter Cell 3, and at that point I knew what it was.
This game really blew us away. We knew that we should expect something pretty good from it, since the previous Splinter Cell games have been definitely solid.
You know, the whole point of the game up until now has kind of just been hiding and dragging the bodies out of view. Now he's going to get real, and he's going to cut fools.
This one is adding an element of just sheer ruthlessness to the series that it's never had before. It just seems like this time when you're playing as Sam Fisher, you're going to be a complete, utter badass.
Totally raw.
Completely badass.
Sam Fisher's getting raw.
He's stabbing people,
Twisting fools' necks off.
he's shooting people.
Stabbing people,
He's holding people at knife point.
dropping them off of cliffs.
He's doing everything he should have been doing in the first 2 games, and it looks incredible.
The game featured probably the most impressive graphics of any game at the show, and it's also coming out this year, which is absolutely great news.
And probably what's most impressive about Splinter Cell 3 is the fact that, unlike a lot of other games, which we've heard a lot about and are not coming out until 2005, Splinter Cell 3 is actually coming out this year.